Hey guys, the new version of BIA will be released in the next couple of hours. So I would like to take this opportunity to show you all the changes we have made. My dogs are quite active right now, so I apologize if they start making too much noise. All right, without further ado, let's get started. BIA, although the UI is still very similar to the old one, we have completely rewritten BM, so it's more reliable, safer. The performance is also much better, and I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna like it. With that, we are no longer in beta version, so we are now supporting all of the TWBOT servers. Okay. Um, we do have support to many languages here, as you can see. And if you would like us to support the language or would like to help us translating BIA to your native language, it would be much appreciated. All right. So one of the biggest changes that we did on BIA is that right now BIA is completely synchronized between all of the computers that are connected to a given account. So if you play with a CoPlayer, or maybe you have a computer in the office that you like to play with, that you like to play Turbo Wars with BIA, you can completely synchronize everything. Okay, so I'm gonna pull down my VM and I'm gonna show this working. So for instance, I'm gonna select my account, and my account already had an active session recently. Okay, so I'm just gonna hit import. But if you don't have an active session, you can just come over here as in the old bot, and you can just hit to activate the bot. But in this case, I'm gonna show this functionality working here. Okay, so I'm gonna select import, and I'm gonna BIA will authenticate the session. All right, so I can come over here, and everything is working just fine. All right. Same thing goes for any other computers that are connected to a given account. So if you play with a CoPlayers, you can very easily synchronize things. So I'm gonna hit import here, and my session will be synchronized. So whatever I do on one BIA will be mirrored to the other BIA. For instance, I can activate BIA here, and it's gonna be activated on this on the other BIA. All right. So the terminology that I'm calling this is a master computer, and oh, that sounds bad because. Anyways, so this is a master computer, and this one here is a follower computer. Okay, so whatever changes that happens on the master computer is replicated to the follower. But also whatever you change on this computer will be changed on the other computer. All right. So for instance, I'm gonna turn on the auto login and auto tagging. Let me also leave this one here in English. So as I activated those functionalities, but because this computer here is a master computer, then that means everything that's gonna happen in the game is gonna happen through this BIA. All right. So for instance, if I schedule an attack over here, it's gonna be sent on this computer. So if you play with co-players that live in different states or country, then you're safe. Especially if you're playing Turbo Wars on a server that does not allow co-players, such as Brazilian servers. All right. To give you more safety, you can always enable the proxy. Okay, the proxy has a kill switch feature, which means that if at any point you lose connection to the proxy server, we will kill BIA, and you're not gonna send any requests to the server with your real IP address. All right. By using this CoPlayer mode, BIA will be simulating any browser fingerprinting. Okay, so essentially you are only one person, and virtually speaking, Turbo Wars admins cannot tell apart if you are connected 10 people on the same account or not. All right, as long as everything the follower computers execute in the game happens through BIA. Okay, if any of your co-players come over here and send an attack from the game, then you can be sure that they will be logging your own IP address unless you have the proxy activated here. Sounds good? So let me demonstrate one of the functionalities here of this seamless syncing. I will be going to this BIA over here, and I'm gonna simulate a session expired. What's gonna happen is BIA will eventually detect. Okay, we have a few ways to detect if the session expired, but those sometimes take a few minutes to happen. So in this case, I'm just gonna force reload my browser so that BIA will detect right away what happened. Okay, so I'm gonna log out here, and I'm gonna come over here and refresh BIA. Okay, so it's gonna detect right away that the session has expired, and it takes usually between 10 to 20 seconds for it to renew the session, and once it's renewed the session, it will be broadcasted to all of the other BIAs connected on this account. All right, so right now it's saying please wait, we're signing you in, and it has been automatically synced. So now both BIAs here have been connected to the game and are ready to go. Okay, so I'm gonna move this BIA out of the way, and I am gonna enable the dark mode myself here because I really prefer the dark mode. So here on the advanced settings, there is two ways for you to get to the advanced settings. The first one is going on the BIA bot page, and you select this small gear, or if you have it enabled, show advanced settings on top bar, then you can just click right over here, and then it's gonna bring it to the advanced settings, right? Over here, you can change, you can apply zoom to the interface. For instance, if you're playing with a 4K monitor, it might look a little bit too small, then you might want to increase it here. Or if you also have any sort of disability, you can also increase or decrease here as you see fit. Here you can set a computer name. In this case, because I'm using on my Mac Mini, then my computer is identified, and if I click over here, that shows the instances active. I can see that the other instance connected to this account is my VM desktop, and I can hand over the control. I can disconnect that computer. I can do many things over here, okay? But because I am the master, I'm just gonna leave it as is. Another very important setting that I will be soon releasing another video explaining is about the user agent, okay? User agent is a string that pretty much tells the server that you're connecting to, in this case TWBOT, what are like some information about who is connecting there. So in this case, you can see that we are telling TWBOT that we are connected from a Windows computer on a 64 architecture bit, 64 bits architecture. What is my browser, the version of my browser, and so on. So if you have multiple people playing on the same account, make sure to always have the very same string here. So TWBOT will not see any data that's not correct, okay? If you have any questions about it, please hit us up on WhatsApp or Telegram, and we will be very happy to help you. But do not change this information if you're not sure what you're doing. Sounds good? All right. Since we're already all connected, let me go to the groups page. The groups page has remained pretty much the same, except that is now much lighter to load, over 300, 500 villages. And you can also quickly add or remove villages from a group by selecting the village. And on the group actions, you can either select to add or remove the village. Okay. In this case, I'm not gonna add or remove it from any group. I want it to be just like that. Okay, so I'm just gonna cancel that. Here on the actions button, I can create, edit, or remove a group. Farm AS and auto coleta, in this case, it would be auto scavenging, but because I initiated this account in Portuguese, then it just selected this as the default name, okay? But if you started in English, it will show here scavenging. Those two are default groups from BIA, which means you cannot edit or remove them, okay? But you can edit and customize your other groups, such as the color or the tag that you're gonna be seeing, all right? So let me go now to auto tagging. Auto tagging now has a few extra features. You can get a sound notification whenever you receive an attack, or if you don't want a sound notification when you receive an attack, you can be only notified when there is an attack that has a nobleman. Okay, or if you also don't want that, it's fine, you can disable it and you can only receive desktop notifications, which is this little one over here that shows that there is a new attack, and BIA will be tagging that very soon. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the nobleman active. And over here, you can select a few sounds to play. Those are very annoying sounds. It's meant to get your attention. And they last about 20 to 40 seconds. But if you also want, you can set it to repeat. So it's going to be on a forever loop until you deactivate the audio. On the right side, you can see a log of the commands that is coming. And that log will have the target, the origin, the attacker, the distance, and the logged at. The logged at is your current computer time, not the server time. Okay, so I am in Canada. Here is 11:42, but in the game is 6 hours ahead, so it's 5:42 a.m. So if I receive an attack right now, it's gonna show as 11:42 and not 5:42. Sounds good. And once it's being successfully tagged, it will show the unit here, so you can see what was the slowest unit coming on the command. All right. From the auto tagging, we can now jumping on the map. The map is very well done. It's very responsive, and it will bring lots of functionalities over time. But right now you can let's say you can select a range of villages, and it will select all of the villages where you start the click and you end the click. It's gonna form a sort of a square, and then all of the villages here you can simply export them by separating them by a space, a comma, or a new line. Or you can also create a new command here, but before that, let me show you about the filter. So on the filter, I can say, for instance, I don't want any villages from the players. So I'm gonna click apply, and it automatically deselected all of the players. I can also define, for instance, that I want villages that has a minimum points of 500 points. And the maximum is infinite, okay, unless you set it here. So I'm gonna hit apply, and it's gonna show only the villages that are over 500 points. Another thing very cool is that, let me select more villages here. I'm gonna click there and over here. And I'm gonna say that I want only villages that are, I don't care anymore about points, only villages that are at least 5 fields from any of my villages. So it's gonna only select villages that are near my villages. So in this case, I have a village over there, I have some other villages here, and I also have a village here. I'm not gonna leave the mouse over because I wanna keep my nick as a secret. all right? But anyways, it will only select the villages near me, okay? So I'm gonna clear this selection. I'm gonna go a little bit over and let me select 2 other villages here, and I'm gonna create a command from the map, okay? So once I hit to create command, I can either click over here to be redirected to that page, or I can just click over here. This was an attack that I was playing around with before, so I'm just gonna remove. And because those villages here are coming from the map, we did not select any orange or origin or an arrival time, which means that this command is invalid. If we try to turn it on, nothing's gonna happen, okay? So let's quickly edit this and select a target. So I'm gonna, select an origin. And I'm also gonna set an arrival time for in the future, because I don't wanna calculate what time I should be using it. I don't even know how far away those villages are from mine, okay? Anything that is purple here means that it will not be changed. Only what is green, it will be changed, okay? So I'm gonna set, let's say 30 light cavalry is there, and the rest I'm gonna leave it as is. And then I'm gonna hit save, and now this, those commands are now valid. So I can come over here and activate it, and now it shows that it's active. If it's not active, then it will be grayed out. If it's active, it's gonna be either red, or if you have, or if that is a support command, it will be blue, sort of blue. That's not definitely blue. Here it shows the cooldown, which means that how long it will be passed from the previous command. I guess I said that a little bit confusing. So this command here will be sent at 19:30:45, and this command here will be sent at 19:34:18, which means it's way more than 10 seconds, right? But why am I showing this? Because sometimes when you have a huge account, you will be sending attacks from very, very close in time, and that is not safe, because we are humans and we cannot send precise commands in a short period of time, especially when we have to sleep, right? So you can, when you're scheduling attacks, you will see 3 different information here. The one that shows is less than 2 seconds is gonna be red, which is very dangerous, and you might be in risk of getting caught by an admin, even though most of those admins are not very smart. They can still they can still figure out that you're using bot by just looking at the times those commands were sent, okay? If it's yellow, that means it's between 2 and 7 seconds and 10 seconds, which is all right, but ideally you always want it green. Okay, I understand that sometimes when you have a big OP with many commands, it might not be possible, but just keep that in mind, okay? If you click on the plus sign, you will expand the command and you will see some information. For instance, the delay. I did not set the delay, so it's gonna be whatever TWBOT says it is, okay? If I want to set a delay, I can just come over here and set the delay here, and actually my delay is about 20 milliseconds, and it's going to be updated there. All right, commands that are imported from the map do not have the player information, but the commands that you create from your normal over here from the single target, then you will have some information. So for instance, let me get a coordinate here, 444-567. I'm gonna hit enter, and it's gonna search this CJane player, and I'm gonna select my village, and I'm gonna hit here, and let me set my delay to 500, my milliseconds to 500. My delay is gonna be 20. I'm gonna set this well in the future because I don't know how far away I'm from that player. And so here is your internet delay. You can calculate this by sending 5 different attacks 1 minute apart from each other. So let's say you send one at 701, 702, 703, 704, 705, and then you get the difference between these commands. So let's say you select your commands to arrive at the 500 millisecond and it arrived at 480. That means that command was 20 milliseconds off. So you add all of those 5 commands together, the difference of those 5 commands together, and you divide by the quantity of commands that you sent, and then you're gonna have the average of your delay. Okay, any numbers that are too off, for let's say sometimes your internet had a hiccup, and instead of sending 500, it sent at 800. But usually that doesn't happen to you, so that's a outlier, and you can just exclude that from your calculation. Okay. So I'm gonna leave, oh wow, I said 200, it's actually my delay is 20 milliseconds, sorry. Here I have the prepare before send, which is how long before the sending time BIA will open the page, calculate the units, check if the player can be attacked or not, because sometimes a player you're attacking got banned and it's you cannot attack the player, or maybe something else happened. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're scheduling an attack, because if your attack is set to leave at 8 p.m., BIA will open 20 seconds before 8 p.m. All right. Let's move on, and here I'm gonna show you how you can set up a noble train. Okay, so I'm gonna first put a star on my axe, my light cavalry, and my rams. One knight and one nobleman. So the star means that it's gonna send all of the units at the time of the attack. So let's say it's gonna select 5,694 axemen. Okay, so it's gonna select everything. If you do add a nobleman here and you start creating a second line, like you can say, for instance, that's gonna be 200 axe and 200 light cavalry, which means that BIA will take 5,694 minus 200, and that's gonna be your first roll. Same thing goes for the light cavalry, and if you keep adding, BIA will also keep adding that together. Okay, up to 5 noblemen, but I only have 4, so I'm just gonna leave it as this. So what's gonna do? BIA is gonna take sorry about that. BIA is gonna take 200, 400, 600 axemen, and it's gonna deduct from this. So the first command will be for sure 5,094 axemen. So it's pretty much doing this, like this, okay? So, oops, sorry. 5,094. And BIA will be deducting this 600 from the original amount. Sorry, my dog barking just threw me off of my game. Anyways, so once you hit schedule, it's gonna show over here. Obviously, that's the commands are filtered by, or are ordered by the sending time. And if I click to expand, I can see now that I have what units have been selected, the target that's being selected. This is the tribe, and since I did not use any catapults, it does not have a target. Okay, so let me edit this command, and I'm gonna add a catapult. Keep in mind that whenever you change something here, it's gonna change everything on the command. Sorry, it's only gonna change this on the command. Everything else will be exactly as is, but in this case it will override all of the units because I'm not selecting noblemen. Okay, I'm not defining a noble train. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave this as one catapult, and I'm gonna hit save, and now my nobleman has been erased. Okay, and here you can see this lowest unit and the target of the catapult. All right, I think that's it for this, for the auto commands. We are for sure planning in adding a few more features such as multi-target. So if you have, let's say 200 origins and 200 targets, you can quickly match what village is going to be attacking which village. We also I'm planning to add a fake feature so you can schedule fake commands, recurring targets. That's excellent for farming players in the beginning of the world, but we also have in mind a different feature that's gonna be probably more helpful than recurring targets, but I'm not gonna talk about it right now. And we also want to add an advanced scheduling where it's gonna give you tons of options to schedule the perfect command for you. All right, but for today, that's about it. Let's move on to the next feature. All right, so now we only have the Recaptcha. Sorry, Recaptcha. We can talk about it. So BIA does have a very good way to prevent recaptchas. We give you tons of functionalities to mimic human-like behaviors. But even though it will show some captchas, even though we have a very good system, it will still show captchas. But rest assured that BIA will solve any kind of captcha, and it's gonna resume all of the tasks that BIA was executing before the captcha happened. Okay. So now we can talk about a little bit about scavenging. On scavenging, you have two settings for each village. The first one is which unit it will be using and the reserved quantity of units that it will reserve. So in this case, I selected to scavenging always leave behind 300 axemen and 300 light cavalry. Okay, so I can click on this gear sign here, and it's gonna apply any changes that I do here is gonna be applied to all of the visible villages. So let's say I don't want to scavenge with heavy cavalry, so I'm gonna select over here, and it's good, it's fine. But if I also want to filter and change things specifically for a single group, I can come over here and I can select my attack group, which only has 2 villages, and I can say, oh, I don't want to attack with any of those units, so I'm gonna deselect this, and then once I remove the filter here, you can see that the first village and the last one removed all of the options, but everything else remained the same. All right. Now you can let's talk about how you can define the max scavenging time. So let's say you don't want your villages to go out on a party for too long. So you can just say here, I want my villages to always be back in at most 4 hours. Or if you don't want anything, you can leave it all zeros, and then BIA will maximize and send all of the units out. So I'm not gonna save this, and let me demonstrate this by coming over here and click on scavenging. So it says that scavenging is in progress, and again this side over here is your local time, okay, not your server time. Here in Canada is 23 o'clock, and the .NET server is 5 a.m. Okay, so right now all of my villages are in scavenging, and once it's finished, it's gonna show here how many villages. Oh, I just see that failed to change my incoming settings. Anyways, so over here that is gonna show how many villages were sent to a scavenging party. Okay. Once it's done, it's gonna show what is the next time that scavenging will be sent. Okay, so while that is working, just finished. So it sent 11 villages to scavenging, and the next scavenging task is at 2 a.m. and 30 minutes. All right. Okay, so now let's talk about the auto farming. On the auto farming, there is tons of settings that you can change to make it perfect to your account. But the first one, let's talk about the testing mode. The testing mode is a way for you to play around with your settings, and then once you come over here and you start farming, then you can see what BIA will be doing. So I'm gonna show that here in a bit, okay? So over here, you have the basic settings such as to include or not villages with full losses, partial losses, the same thing that you have in the game. The only difference is the prioritized villages that have plundered total resource capacity. That is gonna sort everything in a way that is gonna be sending the attacks first to those villages that had full report. You can also set safety settings, which is so whenever you receive 5 or more errors in less than 20 seconds, it will stop farming to prevent you from getting troubles. So for instance, in the Brazilian server, one of the worlds, the admins changed the setting in the middle of the night. Before, there was no minimum of population necessary to be sent in an attack. And then they changed it for a minimum percentage of the points village, which means that many people were farming overnight. They didn't realize this. There was tons of errors, and many people got banned in the Brazilian servers. So this feature will prevent this from happening. As soon as it identifies 5 errors, it will stop farming. Another thing is you can enable random breaks, which you can say, for instance, every approximately 4.5 hours, it will take a break of approximately, and then you can just drag those numbers to set it a decent number that is appropriate for you. So in this case, with the current settings, every 4.5 hours, BIA will stop for approximately 31 minutes. And then after those 31 minutes, okay, it's never always the same number. So there is a minimum and a maximum. So it's always going to be random, okay? Keep that in mind. But approximately in 31 minutes, BIA will resume farming again. And then it's going to wait another 4.5 hours and take another break. Here on the, I've been testing with only spies. So because I don't have any other units, so besides one village with light cavalry, so that's not a realistic example. But let's say we're in the beginning of the world. I will select to farm with 1 spy and 1 light cavalry, and then I can define how many fields I can farm up to. So I like to farm about, depending on the world speed, between 20 and 25 fields. So model A is your primary model, but keep that in mind that even though it's your primary model, it will first try to attack with the wall settings. If the village has wall, it will try to drop the wall first. And then it's going to check your model C. If you don't have model C enabled or the village does not support model C, then it's going to send a model B. If model B also does not meet your criteria, then they will try your model A, okay? So if everything else fails, BIA will be sending the attack with your model A. If that's a little bit too confusing for you, you can always enable the settings and see BIA, you can always enable the testing mode and see BIA doing that in real time, okay? So let's configure here my model B. And model B has 2 functionalities. The first one is only attack with model B once you can no longer send attacks with model A, which means that if I no longer, let's say I don't, usually in the beginning of the world, I make 100 to 200 spies and 500 or more light cavalries. But because I'm not gonna have too many spies, I'm gonna run out of them very soon, and then my farm would stop. With this setting, I can just say, I want to farm with 2 or 1 or 2 light cavalries and 0 spies. And then BIA will keep attacking with model B once you cannot attack with model A anymore. Or you can also set, usually between somewhere after 5 to 7 days of farming of the world started, you can set this feature here, and BIA will be sending more units to the villages that has a full report. Okay. So over here, you can change the Model C units. I promise I did not do anything to my dog. She is very dramatic. A very vocal husky. Anyways, so on the Model C, I can set which units I will be sending and the fields, okay? So usually with Model C, I would say don't go too far away, preferably around 5 to 8 fields is that's the sweet spot. And here you can also set the max report age. So if the report is older than 30 minutes, that means very likely someone else already farmed that village. It might not have that many resources, so it might not be worth sending all of the units with the C model, so it will reduce a little bit. Okay, sorry, it's not gonna reduce, it's gonna escape that village and not attack with Model C. It's gonna attempt either Model B or Model A. On the wall settings, you can enable or disable it, and if you enable, then you have a few settings that you can choose here. For instance, you can select that if there is no units, those wall units that you can set over here, you can choose if it's gonna skip the village or not. Or you can also choose, in case you have any catapults, to send it to with your attack to and aim that to the headquarters. So it's gonna slow down the development of a wall. And you can also, in case your report has a question mark under the wall level and is yellow, you can also send spies to go over that on that village and make sure that it's safe to attack or not. And then you can choose the distance, that the max distance your RAM units will be traveling. Here you can set which units you will be sending on wall level 1, level 2, and level 3 and more, okay? But for now I don't have RAM, so I'm just gonna leave this disabled. And on the advanced settings now, you can set the delay that you're gonna be sending attacks. So the faster you go, the more often you will have captchas. Okay, if you leave it very diverse, something like this, you're gonna have your attacks will be sent a little slower, but you will also have less captcha. Sometimes it takes 1 or 2, maybe even 3 minutes to solve a captcha, which means that you will be not farming for 3 minutes. So is it worth sending so many attacks every 200 milliseconds, or maybe slowing them down a little bit? All right, so it's up to you. You can make tests. I already did my test, and I know that the slower I attack, the longer I can farm, and the time that I keep stopped during the farm does not it's not any it's not worth. Okay. So let's go to the delay before switching villages. So that is whenever your village is done farming, it sends all the attacks it possibly can, and then it's gonna wait between 1 and 11 seconds. In this case, it will be approximately 6 seconds. So I can make it choose to wait a little more, or to send it a little faster. Or if you don't want it, you can completely disable that feature. The force village switch is a setting that you can say every 50 seconds, I want to go to the next village. So this is very helpful in case you have lots of villages and you want to cycle through them very fast. So you can set it here, don't spend more than 50 seconds on my village. Okay. You also have a delay before a new cycle. A new cycle means whenever you're done farming with every single village that you possibly can. So all the villages in your farming group. In this case, I have 11 villages there. And so it's gonna attack from village 1 to 11. And once it's done on the village 11, it will wait approximately 7 minutes. Because I have both both controls over the 7 minutes, that means it will be exactly 7 minutes. But if I drag it a little further apart, then it's gonna be between 7 minutes and 29 minutes. Okay, I guess this concept is well established by now. If you have any questions, you can always click over here, and then you're gonna be seeing, for instance, a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 10. It could be all of those possibilities here. Okay, it's gonna keep switching infinitely, and you can see exactly how that will be working. Okay, so you can also set the max ongoing attacks. The max ongoing attacks is your own ongoing attacks. Okay, so if you have more than 8 commands going on a village, it will not attack. Okay, BIA will completely skip. So you can say this is very good in case you have many villages near the same. So if your villages are all grouped in a part of the map, and you want to do macro farming, that means you will repeat so many attacks on the villages that are very close to you, and the villages that are a little further away, it will not be attacking them that often, because all of your units will be focused on the ones that are closer to you. So you can use this feature here. So you can say, oh, I don't want more than 5 attacks on the villages, and this will spread your units evenly to other villages. You can also say the minimum attacks possible. So for instance, if my village number 1 cannot send more than 10 attacks with my model A, it will skip that village during this cycle, and it's gonna go straight to the village number 2. And then whenever the cycle is over, it's gonna check again, can my village number 1 send at least 10 attacks? If yes, then it's gonna include that on the farming this again. If not, it's gonna wait another cycle. And of course, if you don't want it, you can always disable this. Over here, you can, the last feature is the do not repeat attacks. That means if whatever value you set over here, BIA will not attack the same village in at least 5 minutes. Okay, so if I attack right now is 5:12. Sorry, oh well, I'm tired. Is midnight 12. Okay, so it's gonna wait until midnight 17 to attack it again. Nothing before this will be attacked. So this is especially helpful when you want to do macro farming and you don't want more than one attack hitting or landing on the same second, because that means your farm is not very efficient, and you're gonna be essentially you're gonna be losing, or you're not gonna be losing, but you're not gonna be getting as many resources as you could. Another way that this is helpful is when there is a Captcha. Sometimes we have to refresh the page, and if you already send 10 or 20 attacks there, that means BIA will attack the villages all over again. So if you have this enabled, BIA will be sure to not attack those villages in less than 5 minutes. So that will optimize your farming. All right, just gonna quickly enable this. Let me see, my wall settings is off, so I'm gonna hit save, and I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna click on the farm, and then you're gonna be able to see over here BIA is changing those settings, and now is sending the attacks. Okay, so it's not sending real attacks, it's only highlighting which button is gonna be sent, and you can see in real time how BIA is making this work. And then of course, once you know how everything is working properly, you can come over here and you can disable the testing mode. But that's it, guys. I think I went over all of the systems. We are still under heavy development. We will be adding more features very soon. So please subscribe to the channel and play safe.